Okay, so how does climate affect air conditioner performance and efficiency? So the message on the map is really the core of why the new label was introduced, because air conditioner units perform differently in different conditions. And while like the installers in here might know, customers probably don't. So looking at the zone, some of the first things your customers might ask is like, well, what does average mean? And it gets hotter in like we had a customer or call us up and say, I live in southwest Queensland, and where I live in Charleville, it gets ridiculously hot. It's so much hotter than Brisbane. Why are we in an average zone and Brisbane's a hot zone? That doesn't make sense. And the thing is that for air conditioners, it's not just about how hot it is, because it does. It gets bloody hot in southwest Queensland, but it's also about how cold it gets. And the key thing is that when it gets below 5.5 degrees outside, your air conditioner, the refrigeration coils will start to ice up. And when that happens, the unit needs to run a defrost cycle. And if your unit has not been optimized to run a decent defrost cycle, the unit can ice up completely and stop working. So when you have icing and frosting conditions, you need to have a unit that can deal with it. So it's not just about how hot it is, it's also about how cold. So in cold climates, customers should focus on the heating stars, because heating is the function they're going to use more. And in hot and humid climates, customers should focus more on the cooling stars. So the old label versus the new label, what's changed and why? I've touched on a couple of these things already. On the left, you've got the old label. The capacity and the power are both in kilowatts, but it's got no clear indication of annual power use. And one of the important things is it implies exactly the same performance across the entirety of Australia and New Zealand. So it doesn't take into account any of the climatic differences. The new label, capacity is still in kilowatts. So the cooling capacity and the heating capacity are still comparable between the old label and the new label. It shows the capacity at 2 degrees. It shows the zoned rating showing different performance in different conditions. Includes a noise rating for the first time. A couple of things to note. You can't have both labels on a unit at the same time. They're either registered to the 2013 determination and they have the old label, or they're under the 2019 determination and they can have the new label. And you can't actually directly compare the stars between the old label and the new label, because under the old label, the star rating is calculated based on one performance test at maximum capacity. And so it's how well it performs at that test, whereas for the new rating label, there are tests performed at a number of temperature set points as well as a number of capacities. So there'll be like full capacity, half capacity, minimum capacity, and if it's got an overcapacity unit, it can be tested at that as well. So air conditioner sizing. Again, for some people in the room, you will already completely understand this, but just making sure that everyone's on the same page. But firstly, the most important thing for a customer is to get the right size unit for their space. And size, we're talking about the heating and cooling capacity of the unit, not how physically big it is on the wall. If a unit is too small, it's going to be very inefficient. The air conditioner will be running its little heart out, it'll be going as hard as it can. It's going to be running at full power the whole time, and it may not actually heat or cool the room effectively because it's too small for the space. If it's a little too big, that's generally just about right, and the unit will work efficiently. If it's way too big, the unit is more expensive than what the customer needs. And what happens is the unit will just ramp on, it'll hit its set point and ramp down. It'll be ramping on and off all the time. That's really inefficient. It's never running at its sweet spot. So it becomes very inefficient, and it's not what the customer needs. And when you're sizing a unit, again, for installers, I'm sure you know this very well, there's a bunch of factors that you need to look at. So look at the floor space. So for example, we've got a 3-bedroom house on the left here, and the customers are going, oh, I want an air conditioner to do my open plan kitchen diner area, kitchen diner lounge. And so go, oh, I've looked at my floor space, but then you also need to look at what insulation you have, what's your external wall material, how many windows you have, what shading you have, what orientation there are, and a couple of other factors. So all of these things combined will tell you what size unit you need for the space. And the most important thing here is that Correct sizing ensures that the customer will remain comfortable and doesn't use more electricity than necessary. And that's really the whole point of the energy rating label for air conditioners like the program. So installation, use a licensed installer. In fact, you have to, it's the law. So retailers should ensure that they advise customers to use a licensed technician to install and service their air conditioner. And installers must hold a refrigerant handling license, which is issued by the Australian Refrigeration Council. There's information about this program on the Look for the Tick website. Note, portable air conditioner units can be installed by customers, but they should be serviced by someone who holds a refrigerant handling license. In the ozone protection and synthetic greenhouse gas program presentation, they'll talk more about licenses and why people need specific things going forward. Now, supply via installers. So many consumers rely on the installers to select the most appropriate air conditioner for their circumstances. In these situations, the customer might not ever actually see a label, particularly if you're an installer who doesn't have a shop front. So some consumers may jump online, do their own research, and some of them will come away more confused, and they're generally looking to you as installers to provide them the right information about what's right for them. So that's like the right size, maybe comparing between some models and just giving them the right information. So this is where we believe the Zerl will be a great tool to help installers make it easier for the consumer to understand and guide the customers to the most appropriate choice for their circumstances. So the Zerl, with its 3 climate zones, helps people understand how, for example, the cooling function is more important than the heating function when you're talking about installations in like Darwin or Cairns, whereas here in Melbourne, you're probably looking at more cooling hours, so more heating hours than you would up north. So, and similarly, the 2-degree heating capacity is more relevant for places like Canberra, where it does get really cold.